Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Troy Clayton, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Navy is Captain Nick Tate. We warmly welcome the family of Corporal Marshal Roy Macdonald, whose story will be told shortly. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. We also acknowledge the members of the RSL Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria, and RSL Queensland, who are watching this ceremony broadcast across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by family and visitors to the memorial. If you're able, please stand and join in singing the National Anthem. Thank you. If you're able, please be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn their loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Corporal Marshal Roy Macdonald. Marshal Macdonald was born on the 2nd of September 1893 in Newcastle, New South Wales. Going by his middle name, Roy, he was the second eldest of 9 children, born to local businessman David Macdonald and his wife Annie. Roy was educated in Newcastle and was also a member of the junior and senior cadets. In 1911, he was selected for the Coronation Cadet Contingent and travelled to London for the coronation of King George V in June. At the outbreak of the war in 1914, he was working as a salesman in Newcastle district. Roy Macdonald was among the first Australians to volunteer for active service in the First World War. He enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force on the 28th of August 1914 and was assigned to the 2nd Battalion. He rose quickly through the ranks and was promoted to sergeant less than a month after enlisting. He embarked from Sydney on the 18th of October 1914 on board the troop ship Suffolk. Sergeant Macdonald disembarked in Egypt in early December and continued training. His unit landed on the Gallipoli Peninsula as part of the 2nd and 3rd waves on the 25th of April 1915. In a letter home to his parents, Macdonald wrote, "We had a very hard job in making a landing last Sunday week and suffered heavily. I am glad to say I have got so far without even a scratch. Our officers got it hot and strong, most of them being put out of action during the first 3 days. The stray bullets and shells do most damage to us when we are spelling behind the trenches. We live like a lot of rabbits, and you should see us scatter to our holes when the shrapnel starts. I don't like to think or say anything of the battle. It is too terrible. Men were killed and wounded all around me." Following the landing, Macdonald requested to revert to the rank of corporal. He spent the next few months holding and defending the front line on the Anzac beachhead with his comrades. In August, a new offensive began, aimed at ending the stalemate and advancing the Allied position. Macdonald's unit helped lead the charge on Turkish positions at Lone Pine on the 6th of August 1915. The attack was planned as a part of a diversion to cover Allied units attacking positions at Chinook Bear and Hill 971. In the early hours of the morning of the 6th of August 1915, the Australians charged Turkish defensive positions at Lone Pine. Upon reaching the Turkish lines, advancing troops were met with the trenches that had been covered by pine logs, offering protection to the enemy and severely hindering the Australian advance. Troops were forced to break through the log roof, often engaging the enemy in hand-to-hand combat. After 4 days of intense fighting, Australian units had suffered over 2,000 casualties. Among them was Corporal Roy Macdonald. On the 2nd of September 1915, Roy Macdonald's 22nd birthday, his father received a telegram that Roy was missing in action. The following month, they received a letter from one of Roy's comrades which read, "It is with extreme regret I am writing asking you to accept my deepest sympathy in the loss of your son here on the 6th of August. Roy was killed in a bayonet charge which was described to us all by our General as being magnificent. The one great consolation you have is that he died like the brave soldier he was. Never flinching in his duty, he had endeared himself to all his comrades, and we can ill afford to lose such a lad as he. When things settle down, we will try to attend to his grave, just as the brave boy deserves." Despite the news conveyed by this letter, Roy remained listed as missing in action until December 1915, when his body was located in the trenches by Lone Pine. By 1917, as graves were being consolidated, authorities could no longer find Roy's final resting place. Today, he is commemorated on the Lone Pine Memorial to the missing, among almost 5,000 Australians with no known grave. His bereaved family later posted a notice in memory of Roy in the local newspaper. His life was gentle, and the elements so mixed up in him that nature might stand up and say to all the world, "This was a man. Warrior, rest, thy warfare is over." Corporal Roy Macdonald was 21 years old. His name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my right, among almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. His photograph is displayed today by the Pool of Reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Corporal Marshal Roy Macdonald, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the Ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. The going of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
We'll remember them.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub of Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of the director and staff, thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today and for your continued support of the Memorials Development Project. And we wish you all a very pleasant evening. Thank you.